Silk is one of the most elegant and prized materials in human history, praised and loved over thousands of years for its smooth and luxurious hand feel. Imagine the quiet, sun-dappled groves of mulberry trees, where thousands of tiny little silkworms are hard at work, doing what they do best: growing and feeding. The story of silk is not a simple one. It's a remarkable partnership of humans and nature, where the humble labors of a tiny insect get turned into a glistening thread capable of weaving the finest cloth in the world. Today at Whole Process, we're dissecting the whole journey from start to finish to find out exactly what goes into creating this beautiful fabric. All silk starts with one small creature, the silkworm, also known as the Bombyx mori. This domesticated insect has been raised by humans for more than 5,000 years, first in China and later across Asia and the world. Unlike wild moths, it cannot survive without human care and intervention, especially since its only food is the leaf of the mulberry tree, which is why every silk farm begins with a mulberry plantation. Mulberry leaves are rich in proteins and nutrients that make up the raw material for silk fiber. Farmers carefully maintain these trees, pruning them for tender new growth. The leaves are then harvested daily and brought to silkworm rearing houses. These are clean, warm, humid rooms where temperature and even the moisture is strictly controlled. The process then starts with tiny pin-sized eggs laid by female silk moths. But here's a crazy fact. Did you know that a single moth can lay 300 to 500 eggs at once? These eggs are kept in incubation trays under precise conditions, around 25 degrees Celsius and 85% humidity. The wait, thankfully, isn't long though. After about 10 days, the eggs hatch into small, hungry larvae that immediately begin to feed on the chopped mulberry leaves. Over the next 25 to 30 days, these caterpillars grow at an astonishing rate, molting around 4 to 5 times in total as they outgrow their skins. Each stage between molts is called an instar. By the final instar, the silkworms are creamy white, plump, and nearly 3 inches long. Their appetite, though, is still like a bottomless pit. Thousands of leaves are consumed in a single day, which is why farmers must clean their trays constantly, keeping the bedding dry and free from waste to prevent diseases. The healthier the worms, the higher the quality of the silk that they will produce. When the silkworms have grown enough, they stop eating and prepare to spin their cocoons. This is where our silk will take form. They lift their heads, release a droplet of liquid silk for their special glands, and begin to move their heads in a figure 8 pattern. A filament flows from their mouths in a continuous line, which is actually made of a protein called fibroin. Within 2 to 3 days, the worm wraps itself entirely in this thread, forming an oval cocoon about the size of a small cotton ball. Inside the cocoon, the silkworm transforms into a pup. But before it can emerge as a moth, these cocoons must be harvested. But why? If an adult moth breaks free, it would cut the continuous silk filament into many short and small pieces, which would ruin its value for fine silk thread. Once the spinning is complete, the workers go ahead and manually collect each and every cocoon. The timing in this part is crucial. You don't want to harvest too early and leave the fiber incomplete. Too late and the moth may emerge. The collected cocoons are then sorted by size, shape, and even color. The most uniform ones are set aside. Due to their perfectness, they get reserved for reeling into super high-quality silk. The others, which are much smaller, are set aside for spun silk, where shorter fibers are used. Here's the difficult part, though. To preserve the continuous filament, the pupa inside must be killed before it breaks through. This step is called stifling and is usually done by heating. The cocoons can be exposed to that heat in multiple ways, by exposure to hot air, steam, or even boiling water. The most common method, however, is the use of steam. It neutralizes the pupa humanely, while softening the saracen gum that holds the fibers together. After stifling, the cocoons are dried thoroughly and stored in cool, dry rooms until the reeling steps come up. But what is reeling? Well, it is where the raw silk filament is unwound from the cocoon. It is one of the most delicate steps in the process. Here, the workers very carefully soak the dried cocoons in hot water. This is done to soften the outer sericin layer, which in turn loosens the tightly wound fibers. Workers then brush the surface of the cocoons to find the loose end of the silk. Here, several filaments, usually around 5 to 10, are drawn together and pass through a small guide to form one strong thread. As the reeling machine spins, these filaments unwind in perfect harmony, forming the prized thread that is known as raw silk. Each filament may even be hundreds of meters long, which is why skilled operators come into the picture to make sure that the tension and temperature is monitored to make sure that the thread doesn't accidentally snap. The resulting strand is smooth, shiny, and slightly stiff from the remaining sericin. After reeling is done, the silk is wound and inspected for evenness and quality. There's another hiccup in our journey though. Raw silk threads are too fine and delicate to be weaved directly. To strengthen them, they undergo a process called throwing. Several threads are twisted together, sometimes in the same direction, sometimes opposite, to create various yarn types. Organza, crepe, and satin each require a specific twisting pattern to achieve the desired texture and strength. This step is the main reason that the silk yarns have their elasticity, resilience, and luster. However, raw silk still contains sericin, the natural gum that protects the fiber in the cocoon. Not only does it make it stiff like we mentioned above, it also impacts the luster of the silk. To unlock its famous softness and shine, manufacturers remove the sericin in a process called degumming. Silk skeins are gently boiled in a milk soap or alkaline solution, traditionally natural soap and even soda ash, for about half an hour. The heat and soap dissolve the sericin, leaving behind the pure fibroin fiber. The silk loses about a quarter of its weight during this step, but it gains a soft, fluid texture and brilliant natural sheen. The degummed silk is then rinsed thoroughly and dried in open air or warm rooms. Finally, since the silk is now clean, it's time for it to take on color. Silk is especially valued for its ability to absorb dye deeply, creating vivid, long-lasting colors. Dyeing can occur at several stages as loose yarn, woven fabric, or even as printed designs. Traditionally, natural dyes were produced from plants, insects, or even minerals. But in the modern world, those methods are no longer used. Today, acid and reactive dyes are the most common, giving silk a wide palette of brilliant shades. The dyeing process involves soaking the silk in warm dye baths, sometimes even for several hours. Because silk is protein-based, it actually dyes very strongly with these dyes, resulting in a rich and luminous tone for each one that shimmers as it catches the light. Once dyed, the silk yarns are ready for weaving, where the fabric comes to life. On the looms, hundreds of fine threads are stretched vertically. The weft threads are interlaced horizontally to build the fabric. In simple terms, different weave structures produce distinct textures. Weaving silk actually requires considerable amounts of skill. Every minor tension and changes can affect the fabric's smoothness and drape. While some traditional workshops still do it by hand, most modern mills have transitioned into computerized looms to replicate these intricate patterns on a larger scale. After weaving, the silk fabric is finished to enhance its appearance and feel. It may be washed and even stretched to give it its final characteristics. In some cases, the fabric is even treated for water resistance. But that doesn't mean it just gets shipped off right after this. No. Each and every batch of silk undergoes strict quality testing. Inspectors check thread uniformity, color consistency, and even the fabric strength on average. The cocoons are also graded before reeling, and their yarns are measured for thickness. Only the best silk that meets the standards of the manufacturing plant gets the label of premium quality. Even the byproducts of silk production are valuable. Cocoons too damaged for reeling are processed into spun silk, made from shorter fibers. In fact, even the leftover sericin can be used in cosmetics and pharmaceuticals due to its protein content, and the silkworm purse, once removed from the cocoon, is used as animal feed, fertilizer, or, in some regions, a food source rich in nutrients. While the essence of silk making hasn't changed for thousands of years, modern science continues to refine the process. Automated reeling machines maintain perfect tension and temperature. Enzyme-based degumming reduces chemical waste and protects the fiber's strength. An eco-friendly piece silk allows the moths to emerge naturally before cocoons are processed, catering to sustainable and cruelty-free production. Countries like China and India still dominate global silk production, but smaller regions like Japan are also starting to thrive. The making of silk is more than the manufacturing. It's a living craft that has been passed down from centuries. Families pride themselves in their craftsmanship. Each stage of this process, from the hatching, feeding, spinning, to the weaving, is done meticulously and with laborious intensity to ensure that the final product is fit for praise. So the next time you look for a silk dress or come across a reel of fabric, you'll know the reason for its astonishing price points. Take a moment to imagine the journey it has taken from cocoon to the delicate cloth resting in your hands. It's a story of transformation, patience, and beauty woven by nature. What kind of fabric do you prefer? Let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe so we can keep making these videos for you, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.